Welcome to the Simply Be Found Huddle. You got Dean and you got Rob on here today. We're going to talk about content, Dean. Where I want to start our conversation today. Let's talk about evergreen content. Let's talk about how to put a content strategy together. And let's talk about where we see small businesses, multi-location businesses, and I even see marketing agencies make some of these common mistakes inside of their content. And it ends up killing their content strategy. And I think it's because they have a hard time thinking about the big picture. They get so narrowed focused on the day-to-day stuff and this task list that has to have happen, and they can't see the big picture that's out there. Do you agree? Do you see that same thing?
I don't even know where you're going to go. So you lead me into this, Rob. I'm hearing you. There's so many different ways you can approach content. And so let's just, Evergreen is one thing with the social media piece. We have another thing with videos. We have another thing with website content. Let's pick one and let's dive into it a little bit. Okay?
Well, see, the problem is they're all connected together. There's my point. You just went to a task list. Let's pick one and work there. And you're not looking at the big picture. You're not looking at the big tree.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Which is exactly where I thought you would end up going with it.
Oh yeah, you're being an asshole.
But I am an asshole. I set you completely up for it.
Let's not even go there right now. Okay,
because the human brain goes. So the human brain goes there.
Right.
So the human brain goes, I'm going to focus on this, and this. So what happens? So when I see different agencies starting to use it, I see they're using our video strategy of taking a video and then breaking it down for all the types of content. But then they make all of the content about that day's information. And now you're taking the same information, you're just sending it out for that day, and then it gets forgotten about. So then it does not keep updating the algorithm over time. So when you're going through and you're planning out your strategy, if you're going to do a huge one, now this is more a complex type of strategy. And we'll also talk about it on a smaller scale for someone who's like a roofer or someone who's doing it that's a business owner that's not doing the big piece. Because you got several different practices that are there.
Right.
But the main key piece is you got to keep talking about your content. So if you write a blog post or you cut a video, you can talk about that video for months. You can talk about that blog for months. You can set that up into your evergreen. And an interesting piece that you just said inside of your statement that you just did is you brought up, pick one. Well, they're all connected together. So there isn't one to be able to pick. Because
so you're saying, I'm going to debate with you a little bit about this. I
want you to.
Because evergreen is a certain strategy you take with marketing. It's something that's repeatable. You talk about things over and over again. I think I don't like the way you use evergreen sometimes. I think evergreen is more of an informational piece that has permanent value that you can share over and over again. It isn't something you're just going to run. I'm hearing you. I think my approach on evergreen is a little different than yours is, but I agree with you on the video piece. You can't just you do a video. You can't just waylay everything out there at one time and get all the information out there. Because,
you can.
Well, you can, but it's a different strategy. It depends on what you're trying to do with that video. So you have to kind of look at the end game to determine what your marketing strategy is a little bit. That's the thing is I can look at today's tasks and say I need to put out one video, I need to put out 3 shorts, I need to put out, so you kind of get certain things on a daily task you need to have happen, and you can schedule them. The big thing is what's the end game? How long do you want to make sure that information's out there? How long, and what industry you're in determines a little bit too. So it's really not a strict, fast way to do it. And I think, and some of the marketing agencies I've worked with that you and I've worked with, they get certain blinders on. I'm with you, and they don't get to an end game for their clients as well. And I see that with small businesses as well. They don't get to what is the point you're trying to do? How are you trying to get there? I guess that's kind of, you kind of reverse engineer it a little bit, if you will.
Okay, so I'm gonna come back to you on that one. You're like, well, you look at evergreen wrong. You can't talk about everything in one video. But if you create a video, why can't you make that evergreen? Why can't you talk about, you're automatically going to the point of that the video is going to have all this information in it. You might have a video about your tip. Okay, let's say that you're a roofer. You might have, top 5 tips that we recommend for doing winter maintenance on your roof or your gutter system or whatever it might be.
Right.
Okay. That's going to be something that's going to be evergreen throughout your winter months.
Right.
That's in there. You might have, so you have this whole entire checklist. Now you have a blog post that's wrote off of that as well, because you used the transcript and you made it into your whole entire transcript of that video. Now you can have evergreen content constantly going out on social media that's talking about 2 different things. Actually, you could have 3, because off that long video, you may or may not have shorts on it. If you're going full blown huge strategy and you have shorts on it as well. So you might have 3 different pillars that come off of that. You would have you'd have posts, and you'd have multiple ones that could be talked about several months for that period, for that season, and that type of business. And a roofing business was the wrong one to choose.
Right.
But you'd have
you in the roofing business, man. You're all. I mean, that's one of our biggest.
I've talked to so many roofers over the last 2 weeks. It's not even. It's crazy.
The whole point of, in my opinion, the whole point of evergreen content is to provide something that is kind of a timeless mode.
Yep.
And it's repeatable, so that people maybe, depend on when you release it, because some businesses will do things on a seasonal basis. It repeats themselves monthly. I mean, it really depends a little bit on your industry, but it's information that provides something to the end user or the person looking for that service or product, that's going to say, hey, I have this situation, I'm going to reach out to them. That's how I interpret evergreen content.
Are you looking at evergreen content as only being social media?
You know what? I am right now. My blinders went social media in my head, because I spent a lot of time with the social media people.
So you automatically went and you thought about evergreen as it being this content and this post, but right. You're not bringing that evergreen content inside of.
Well, so
you're not bringing your other tools that are inside your toolbox. So
right,
you've got the tree concept. So
right.
You have your organic stuff that's down on the bottom. You have your tree trunk of your website, and then you have your tree with all your branches. So you have blog, you have social media that has small branches right. off of that. But you have to make those two. You have to make those talk together.
So what I'm hearing you say that is a blog is considered evergreen. Are you saying that?
A blog could be evergreen, but you need to tie that into your social media, because you can now point to that from your social media and keep that blog alive.
Right. Well, you'd actually do a redirect through your social media back to your blog.
It's not a redirect.
Not I shouldn't say redirect.
You're going to put a link to that blog.
Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for, not redirect. Okay. Thank you. I'm using the wrong term. All right.
That's why you and I work so well together, because this is what confuses small business owners.
Right.
And agencies make this problem as well, because they're not looking at the big picture. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, because when you're doing your evergreen content, so when you post your evergreen content and you post something out there. So for example, we do these huddles. So you have the huddle, and then we have shorts that come off the huddle, and you have social media that comes off the huddle. You have the blog post that comes off the huddle. Well, you got to make all of those huddles come together, and you got to make them all talk to one another. It sounds confusing out of the gate, but really it's not, because when you go through and you do your schedule and how you can do big blocks of schedule, especially with using the tools inside of YouTube, using the tools inside of the social media suite, you can schedule content in advance. So you can go through and also make it repeat over a certain amount of time inside of, over a certain period of time. If it's something that's always going to be out there, it isn't going to be changing, but you got to remember to come in and check and make sure you don't have anything repeating. That should not be repeating. Right, that should be an audit inside of your books as well.
So here we go. What we're doing right now is evergreen content.
Correct.
Because
so
that's where we're at. So this huddle, and people will listen to it over and over again. They'll go, what the heck are these guys talking about? Let's do it again, because there's some value to it. So therefore, this is considered evergreen content, what we're doing now. Well, the shorts that come off of this particular audio and video that we're doing we'll do a link back Is that the right word? If I use the right
Well,
word?
you're gonna share the social. You're gonna share those shorts out there
Right.
to keep them going. So you might share it, and depends on the platform you're using. You might upload those into your Evergreen Content to where it shares that video over and over, or
Okay.
you might point to your YouTube channel that has that short on it, and you do a combination and you see what's there, because sometimes someone will click on a YouTube link instead of watching it native. You want to play with that. And
Right.
what you're basically doing by constantly talking about your blogs, so when you're pointing to it, so you got to remember, all these algorithms are constantly looking at your website. They're
Right.
constantly looking at your social media, and they're gathering content. So different AI tools are out there doing the same thing. That's how it's gathering everything. So you have to keep all this relatively updated to where you're pointing them where you want to go. So when you write the blog, it's great.
Right.
Google scrapes your site, it'll know what it is, but the AIs like to know that information is still relevant. So by talking about it inside of your social media, and the beautiful thing about a blog is you can always update the blog. You can even
Right.
change the video out if it changes, and then you can go through and just keep it up to date to where it's where it needs to be. But nobody wants to hear the same thing all the time.
Right.
So for example, if we took the huddle and we posted it out there, and then we talked about the huddle all day long, and then we didn't talk about it ever again, would we get any value out of it? And would everybody get really tired of all of our videos being the same?
I see where you're going, and I agree with you. I mean, if you're going to be doing something, you want to make sure you're putting it out there at, in little pieces of time, because I may not be interested in evergreen content today, but in 2 weeks, I may have heard the term evergreen content, and I go, oh, there's a trigger point then, so they'll refer back to us. So is that what you're trying to say? So are
you have to you're maximizing your content reach, and
okay,
you're keeping it fresh.
Hang on, let me finish where I'm going with my thought process, because if we're doing shorts, some people put the same short over and over and over again out there. I mean, not because we break up into several different shorts. Yeah, I mean, because I
don't think you understand what a short is.
Well, let's say
if you post the same short, if you upload the same short over and over again, you're going to screw yourself over.
I guess that is what I'm not trying to say. Is the algorithms are out there? They're re-bringing that short back into my search process.
That's a total different piece. That's the algorithm thinking that's going to be something recommended to you.
Okay, so it's the algorithm. See, that's where I get a little bit confused. I think some of the business owners get a little confused, as I've had that conversation. So when they see that same short reappear, it's because the algorithm is thinking that's what they're interested in.
That's the algorithm thinking that that's the best thing. So when you're doing inside of the social media, is you're keeping your feed up to date, and you're bringing it up and re-talking about different posts that are out there. So for this video right here, we'll probably, depends on how long it ends up being, we'll probably have anywhere between 25 and 30 shorts that come off of this video. Right. Which means that you can then talk about that in different ways inside of social media. Again, you're looking at it very linear and very stacked of a to-do list, and not looking at the big picture.
Okay, so
you're thinking, I just got to go. I'll just go through post, same thing. When it's actually, you don't want, even though that's not the same video getting posted all day, it is different videos, but it's about the same damn topic.
No,
might not be interested in that topic.
It's all the spin-offs from that one.
Right.
But once you've posted that short, you don't go back and reissue that same short again in the future, right?
You can inside of social media, yes. Just not on YouTube.
Just not, YouTube, once it's out there, it's out there.
It's out there, but you can rejuvenate your content. So no different than, so you look at YouTube the same as you would your blog. You're not going to post the same blog over and over and over again. So YouTube would be considered the same exact piece inside of that concept. So look at YouTube as like a video blog in a way. And then you have your blog there. You're not going to go through and repost the same video over and over again. Okay, the algorithm's not going to like that. Then you have videos. Then you have a problem with inside the marketing world where you have content competing against content, which it also ends up being a problem in itself. But inside of social media, you then can point to that blog. You can point to that video multiple times and talk about it in a different type of social media post, or the same social media post, because it's already so far down on the feed, no one would ever notice it. Right. So you have to be able to make sure you keep that old content revived. It's not just the new content that needs to be going out, but you need to bring some of that old stuff back, because that's going to get you watch hours. That's going to get you watch time. That's going to keep that old content revised. And so you get the most out of it versus not pointing to it ever again. What a lot of places do is they'll take that content, they'll do it once inside of a video, they'll do it once inside of a short, and they'll do it once inside of a blog. So they have all their shorts that are there. So there might be 12 shorts to that one long video, for example. And then they talk about it in one day, and then they never talk about it again.
I see where you're going with that. I'm more concerned about making sure that if they are doing evergreen, the evergreen is repeatable, is allowed. It doesn't hurt you on certain things because like you said, you can't repost your blog every over and over again.
Correct.
That'll hurt you basically on on your SEO value. Same way with YouTube doesn't allow you to redo the same video over and over again. Once it's
I don't
done,
think so. I think it'll end up competing against each other, and it would really hurt you.
Right.
Could be wrong. I'd love someone to argue that. I think it would hurt.
That gets back into the repeating of like you say the same things over and over again, like doing a blog and change this. That's why it's better to edit a blog to get some value that way. Because if you rewrite the blog, it duplicate content for yourself out there.
With the caveat on a video, if you have to update it, you cannot replace a video inside of YouTube. You'd have to re-record the video. But the chances of you saying everything identical, unless you're using AI to create your video, the chances are to be able to create the same video over and over to where you say exactly the same thing is going to be pretty slim to none. That's why recording your videos uncut, raw, and unedited and talking into it. You might talk about going out and doing the same type of job that you went through and did 20, 30 times, but you're going to talk about it in a different way every time. It's not going to be word for word. It's not going to be content repeating itself. So those are fine inside of there. So I don't want anybody to take that the opposite way there. But what I'm talking about is mix your videos into your evergreen content, create your evergreen content, think about it inside of a whole big picture to where everything connects.
Well, the problem is, though, is you're not bringing in, we're going to do another huddle tomorrow, or again, we're going to talk about this huddle today a little bit, but the huddle we do tomorrow, we'll have this huddle and some of the next one. And then you're building on your structure by doing that.
And how we do that personally inside of our schedule for how I have that set up is we go really old school. We have a spreadsheet. So we'll take all the videos. We'll take the master video. We know what it is. We then have our shorts that come off of that. We load our shorts directly from Opius over to YouTube. And then we go through and we schedule those out. And you don't schedule them all the same day on the same schedule. You spread them out over time. And then you take your social media and you schedule that based on what's going out for the day. And you also bring it in and talk about it in other ways, because now you have the blog, you have all that. So it's a really complicated piece that no one ever really thinks about for how to look at that long-term game, because you have to make sure that you talk about it over a period of time and not just all in one day, so that you're reviving everything out. That's where social media marketers and all that stuff really come in. 90% of our businesses that we deal with aren't going to get that heavy into it. What they're going to do is they're going to use the social media suite, and they're going to go through and they're going to post it out, and they're going to click evergreen, and they're going to say repeat. And then they'll have it repeat inside of social media, and they'll have it repeat that way. And most of the time, I would recommend, if you're going to do it that way, I would link to YouTube, to the short or to the long, and not repost that same video inside of YouTube or inside of Facebook or Twitter or X, whatever you're talking about, LinkedIn, to where you're not posting that, but post it. You're not going to get as much value out of it because it's going to have a link going somewhere else. And networks like to keep everything inside of that network, but it's going to be better long-term game for being able to repeat yourself, because you can actually say inside of the social media suite, repeat every so many weeks or whatever it is. And then you just know that you have stuff stacked up.
So you just made an interesting comment, and I want to go deep dive with you a little bit. If you have a link out of your social media to another platform, if you will, it doesn't have as much value. Is that what you're saying? So you can get a little more value if you keep it internally, but it doesn't, but the thing is if you link back to, let's say, YouTube, and you have a YouTube channel, then people might discover other. I mean, I'm going a little bit differently.
It's a chicken and egg dance.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm going with it, because we coach people to say repeat keep them all there, and repeat the evergreen content. We have other people that say they want to go back to YouTube. So it really depends on your business and what you're trying to achieve with your content. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's where they can come in and they can ask us if they have the coaching piece. So if they're on any of our plans and they're a paid member, they can ask us what we recommend. For the social media side, when we dive into this, it does require at the time of recording this video, it requires you to have that social media suite to be inside of there. But we can help you intertwine that and how we would do that release schedule based on your content and be able to streamline it for you, because it's going to be kind of unique for every business. Like if you're a roofer, it's going to be different than if you're a baker versus if you're a lawyer.
Right.
And then if you're a lawyer, you have to make sure that what you're talking about in your evergreen doesn't change based on the laws that are out there. So that's why you have to go in and you have to make sure it's changed inside of there.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot of pieces that come into that play, but it's rejuvenating your current content and reusing your content in a very thoughtful manner and not over blasting, because if you over blast the internet, you're going to get not good results. Now, if you go on the Joe Rogan, experience and you're on his podcast, you're probably going to talk about that a lot more in your social media, but that brings value and you just had an influencer that's inside of your area.
Right.
99% of the videos, actually 99.9% of the videos we do don't have an influencer inside of it. I mean, sometimes we have guests, but we've never had a big guest like a Joe Rogan inside of our podcast yet, or inside of our huddle yet.
Right.
Most small businesses, they're not going to have that experience unless they happen to be friends with them. So, and if they get to that point, great, but that's going to change your entire experience.
Exactly. So let's talk about it. If a small business wants to jump in and start a channel on YouTube, I mean, let's just kind of go there a little bit. I know I'm deviating a little bit. Is it hard to get a channel set up?
No. All you have to do is you have to make sure you have a Google account set up. And when you have a Google account set up, all you have to do is just click on the top icon inside of there, and you can actually just go through the process and just say add channel.
Okay.
I think I have a video on that. If I don't, I'm
pretty sure you do, Rob. I just wanted to bring it up because
it's not hard.
To us, they say, I want to start a YouTube channel. How hard is it? It's really not that. It's not difficult.
No, so I'll look and see if I have that one out, but I'm pretty sure I do. But it's not hard to set up a YouTube channel. It's free.
Right, and then as far as the
YouTube account will hook into our social media suite too.
Yes, it will. Yep, it will. But so the next thing is when you talk about repeat information on social media, that doesn't hurt you as much as doing repeat information on your website, as regurgitating stuff over and over again. But is there a time frame that you should be concerned with if you're doing rescheduling? What's your thought on that? I think there's a little bit of value to the time of day. I don't know. What's your thought on that one? Are you doing a search on that right now?
I'm thinking, and I'm gonna look something up at the same exact time.
Gotcha.
Because I want to say it's going to be about 6 weeks of the repeating in there, but I've got an AI that monitors that across all of our channels inside of the social media suite. So I'm going to look and see what that is. They said in there, most people are doing it right now where they repeat that same thing about every 3 months on average.
Okay.
Except for restaurants. Restaurants repeat every other week. So
right.
if I take them out of the queue for inside of the social media suite for all of our users, most people are repeating their content every 3 months.
So let's talk about somebody that offers something special, once like the first week of every month. You want to kind of repeat that information, because I know that when we talk restaurants, they have their daily specials that may
right, and that's why they repeat every they're repeating every day to every week.
Right, but as far as let's talk some of the seasonal businesses out there. They may not want. They may say, "Hey, we're especially let's say landscapers right now, because we're kind of coming into that season. You need to aerate your yard now. You need to do these different functions, whatever." And they may want to have their repeat information because may not want to aerate in the middle of the summer or in the fall. Depending on where you're at in the world, in the United States or wherever, that's going to change. But every business knows when certain things got to repeat, so they would start to put out that evergreen content prior to
They would have seasonal evergreen content.
Right.
So then they can schedule it out. So there's no limit on what time frame you can schedule content inside of the social media suite. You can go out as far as you want. As long as you're a member of it, it'll continue to go through and do that. So you could say every, March 1st, this is what we're going to do, and it's going to send out. You could do the next 5 years. And then you could go to the next week and go, okay, we're going to do this post here, and it's going to repeat every year. And if I already have a blog wrote on this, so I'm going to point to that blog. You go through and you can schedule it out that way. But that's where coming in and planning your year's worth of content. So if I was to, I talk to a lot of people about this, especially seasonal businesses, about how to plan a whole year's worth of content on social media. It really doesn't take that much time because then you know what your year is.
Right.
So instead of using the repeat function inside of there, sometimes it's easier just to go through and plan your year and go, okay, this is something I could do. I'm going to run this ad for this much time, and I'm going to do this one as my sales copy. This one's going to be my Q&A. This one's going to be this. And I don't believe there's a lot of social media people out there that say, Mondays are Q&A day. Tuesdays are information day. Wednesdays are sales days. I don't believe in doing that. I think you have to spread it out so that way you're hitting everybody, because everybody, you never know where that fish is going to bite that bait. So you got to spread that out. But when you go through and do your year's worth of content, if you're using AI in the correct way and using it in that piece, and I've shared out some ChatGPT GPTs to a couple of our members that help them be able to plan their whole entire year's worth of content in a couple of clicks by answering certain questions. And it'll go through and it'll just plan everything out. And then you just go through, paste it in, find an image that'll go good with it, and you're off to the races and going out and being able to have your year taken care of. And then what you do is you feed that in. So you know what time slots you have for that type of content. And then other time, that you can also post on top of that for other active things. Right. And that's where video comes in. You can record that video inside of that piece and slide it into your content throughout the year and talk about real problems you just solved. That adds to your blogs. And then when you sit down to plan your next year's worth of content, you can look at all of those videos and you can pull some of them out and reuse them again.
Okay. Sounds like a lot of work, is it?
Not really.
Okay.
So I talked to a landscaper and a roofer in the last 3 weeks that planned out their entire year's worth of content. And it took them less than 3.5 hours each. I think one was 3.5 hours, one was 4 hours to plan a whole entire year's worth of content in the social media. Their biggest problem was doing pictures. And there's actually, there was a couple others that did it. And there was one guy that complained because he was trying to use all of his own pictures and go through his picture piece and organize all the pictures out that was in his phone. He said that was a time-consuming piece. I taught a couple others where to go get stock photos, how to use our system to be able to pull stock photos, and how to kind of bring that in. It was faster for them than someone trying to reorganize their whole entire phone of every photo they've ever taken. But, so it's all a matter of, small business owners, we all get in our own heads, and sometimes we make things more complicated than they need to be. I would do something like that. You would do something like that, to where I can do my own photos. Next thing you know, it takes me 2 days.
I never do the only invented here. Said no. I do that all the time, guys.
Me too. So I am my own worst enemy.
Yeah.
So the thing is to be able to use some of those stock photos, because use real photos of what you're doing for job sites when you're putting out content that is actual, real happening now content. Because this is content that would be something that can be used during that time period or evergreen that can happen all the time. And I think those come in handy. That's how you can get your whole year plan. So that way, if you don't have, if you don't have time to go through and do it, or you forget, and you get so busy and caught in your day and you're not doing all the stuff that you're supposed to be doing, of taking that, hour to 2 hours a week and work on your marketing and using the social media side, then if you miss it, you really don't hurt anything because you already have content scheduled.
Exactly. Now, when you talk about content, let's talk a little bit about the social media platforms a little bit. The way you approach some of the content changes a little bit based on the platform too. Is that correct?
You can.
I know that we've talked to some guests, a couple of guests about that particular thing, that you want to address, people that use TikTok a certain way.
Yep.
possibly, or a certain format. And every platform has its own format as well. But with our social media suite, that helps to alleviate that problem, because they'll tell you if you have a length problem or something like that. But how often you post it, how the frequency changes a little bit based on the platform. Do you agree with that?
So I'm gonna quote Gary Vee on this. He wrote a whole entire book about it called Day Trading Attention.
Okay.
Which he would say that you need to change it for every single platform. My argument against day trading attention and Gary Vee's approach to that is this: if you only have time to be able to write one post, one image, and you're able to post it out using the social media suite by Simply Be Found out there, or if you're using Hootsuite or whoever you're using for your social media platform, you can use a Buffer. There's all kinds of them. So it's not just us that can do this. But my problem with doing it Gary Vee style is that's time consuming. You now have to tweak it and think about it. Inside of GPTs, when you go through and you plan your whole entire year out and you ask it for that content, you can say, hey, can you make it unique to the users there? We can put that inside of that GPT when we share it with you. And the ones that we use, we have those out there, but it takes more time to do that and more effort. So if you don't have the time and effort to put into that, and you just say the same thing across all of the networks, and you said something on that network, it's going to be better than saying nothing.
No, there you go. It's kind of like bad publicity is better than no publicity kind of attitude. I mean, not what you're doing is bad, but it's better to have something out there and shows activity for your business, and you're a viable business, and you're offering information that may be important to that consumer that's in market at that point in time.
All right, let's use this analogy on that. You go up to the mountains, Dean, and we're going fishing, and you decide to sit down on the bank, and it doesn't matter if you're bait fishing, if you're using worms, salmon eggs, if you're fly fishing or using a lure. If you don't change the type of bait you're using because you're not catching anything, and you keep using the same thing all day long, does that mean you're going to necessarily catch less fish or more fish?
It depends because the bait may change throughout the day. So that's the whole point. It's a good analogy, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same type of concept. I mean, that's where marketing is very much about going out and doing that fishing piece, but doing something is better than doing nothing and putting it out there. That's why if you can get your stuff out there and done. So in the time of doing this, I wrote that up. I've got for a roofer, I have a year's worth of content for every single social media network. I've got blog ideas that could go off to a blog. So in the time that I started typing earlier, I have all that already set up, and I would just have to enter it into the actual social media suite. And by the way, if you have an assistant, an office manager, or someone that does that busy work, you can write all that content, look at it, copy and paste it into an email and say, please post all this for me. Yes. And then we get into the whole entire, since we brought up in multiple times on this podcast with guests, Dan Martell lately, you get into that whole entire piece of, are you doing $5 tasks, or are you doing $10 tasks, $20 tasks? And what tasks are you really accomplishing in your business? Because that's where they can go through and find a photo for you. They'd probably do a better job than you would as a business owner if you have someone that works in there, and you're probably trying to keep them busy. Because if you're like me, and one of the things inside of businesses, not necessarily Simply Be Found, but other businesses I've had, there's times that I'm trying to keep my staff busy because I have to pay them regardless. And sometimes there's just downtime that I know they have nothing going, and it's not during our rush. Right. Would you agree with that?
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, we're not always busy 8 hours a day if you work 8 hour a day schedule. You don't, every single moment isn't filled with something that you can't take some time here and there throughout the day to do some of that task work like that, especially the social media piece, and finding a photo, that goes with that content, because, they may have a better idea of what that photo should look like anyway than you do, because you get hung up sometimes.
But you got to skim that content, then their eyes get to go onto that content and look at it. And if they have questions, so they can come and ask you, why'd you want to post this? Or why'd you want to post that? And the nice thing about this is it'll give you those blog titles as well. So then you know exactly, here's the blog I should be talking about, the social media that should link to it. You kind of have your structure all the way set up. Because then all you have to do is just inside of that GPT that I'm talking about. If you remember, just ask me and I'll give you access to it. But it'll actually give you, the actual snippet to put inside of ChatGPT to then generate your blog. And we have a GPT for that as well that we give over to members all the time that they can then write their blogs off of, and it speeds up the process. And it uses the best practices, and it's the same ones I'm updating and I'm using for us.
Right, exactly. But no, I think that I think we beat this up a little bit. I'm ready to say unless there's something else you want to bring up.
No, I mean it's the same stuff. It's not making it complicated. So it seems like it's really super complicated, but it's a matter of just planning it out right and thinking about it and not saying the same things. Because I see marketing agencies. That's probably the biggest one I'm going to pick on right now. I see marketing agencies. They go, "Oh, got a video," and then they forget about it.
Right. So we've both seen marketing agencies do that to their clients. I mean,
correct.
Not all of them do that, but there's a few out there that don't understand the concept and they get hung up. They're meeting the requirements of 3 videos a day or 5 videos a day or whatever they are. The problem is they're not mixing it up enough to give the content a different value set for the.
And you have to have variety. Because
right.
Not everybody's searching for the same thing that day.
Right. And you hear me use the term in market all the time because I may be listening. What's it?
I do?
I do. I use the term in market all the
time. I thought you were saying I use that. I'm like, I didn't know.
I'm always into in market because that's a big deal. I mean, I may be in the market for new windows today, but I won't be in market again for another 10 years or whatever, the kind of thing. But everybody is in market at some point, and you got to make sure it's just like the fishing analogy. You've got to make sure that the right bait is out there or the right information is out there that's going to correspond with that business buyer's mindset at the time that they're in that mindset or in market, if you will.
I agree. I mean, it's a matter of making it all kind of come together, and you never know when someone's going to be there. And you want to be able to give yourself as many opportunities as you possibly can. And you want to keep your content fresh. So I guess my whole entire point of where I started this entire huddle is don't let your content go to waste. Make sure you get the most from your content at the very beginning. So when you post something out there, don't just post it and then forget about it. Make sure you come back to it and give it some love, because if you're not giving any love, it's not gonna work well for you.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Everything that just came to your mind was naughty, wasn't it?
No, it was not. I didn't. My mind is not in your gutter, so just leave me alone, okay? So
all right, sounds good. If anybody has any questions and you're a member of us, or you want to know if your plan comes with any of the GPTs I talked about, let us know. Send us a chat message, send us an email. We do all of our marketing and coaching by email support, and you get to talk to Dean or myself, and sometimes both of us, because as you can tell inside of this, we both think about things in a little bit of a different way, and we don't always agree, which makes us great business partners and great coaches inside of this entire environment. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Dean, anything else you want to say to close us off?
I just want to say everybody thanks, and it was fun bantering with you today, Rob.
It was fun. I like it.
All right.